Hey friends, welcome back. Today I will be recapping a horror dark fantasy reimagining of Snow White, titled The Death of Snow White 2025. Spoilers ahead, buckle up, because this twisted tale is about to begin. The movie begins centuries ago. On a cold, quiet night, we see a grand castle where a noble king lives with his pregnant queen, loyal guards, a skilled sidekick huntsman named Kaiser, and a few trusted handmaidens. The night may have seemed calm, but something dark was brewing in the shadows. Suddenly, we see an ugly evil witch appear, silently sending the outer guards straight to meet Disney Jesus one by one. With help from the sidekick huntsman Kaiser, who secretly betrays the king, she enters the castle. Inside, she casts a wicked spell into the ears of the queen's handmaidens like she's whispering sweet nothings. The curse is horrifying and takes effect immediately as their bodies begin to rot from the inside, and they vomit swarms of insects like a really twisted nature documentary as they collapse, ending their handmaiden life. With the staff conveniently eliminated and no one left to stop her, the ugly witch walks straight into the queen's chambers. There, she stabs the pregnant queen with a poisoned blade, attempting to end her subscription to life. The guards finally show up fashionably late to the party, and the king rushes his injured wife upstairs to the castle medics, who deliver news worse than a WebMD diagnosis. It's too late. The poison is already spreading. The healer reveals that the venom is so powerful, it will surely send the queen to meet Disney Jesus. And if they waste any time, the child won't survive either. As tears roll down her cheeks, the queen begs the king to do whatever it takes to save their child. The king, shattered by her pain, somehow holds himself together for her and for their unborn child. With her final moments approaching, the dying queen looks out the window at falling snow and says it's a symbol of peace, which is either profound wisdom or just really good drugs talking. She makes Huntsman Gunner promise to raise her child like his own, essentially turning him into the world's most dangerous babysitter, because apparently the king's parenting skills were already in question. Finally, the queen tells the king to leave. She doesn't want her death to be his last memory of her, which is considerate even while literally dying. The heartbroken king walks out and collapses in tears just as she gives birth to a pretty baby girl, her skin as white as snow. With her final breath, the queen names her Snow White with all the creativity of someone naming their pet dog, and then dies and goes to meet Disney Jesus personally. Meanwhile, the evil witch is still ending people's subscription to life left and right. A brave dwarf guard tries to stop her, stabbing her with a sharp bone protruding from his own broken arm in old-fashioned epic style. He wounds her, but not fatally. Furious, she stabs him repeatedly like she's trying to win a very dark game of whack-a-mole because the witch apparently believes in the if you're going to do something, do it right philosophy. Afterwards, she disappears into the night, probably to update her LinkedIn profile to freelance castle infiltrator. Fast forward 15 or 16 years, and Snow White has grown into a young woman who's basically the medieval version of that person everyone loves on social media. Kind, pure-hearted, and probably bakes cookies for fun. Despite being a princess, she lives among common folk, playing with children, helping villagers, and enjoying festivals, which is either really humble or just royal rebellion against her trust fund. At a festival, she sneaks into performances with her sidekick friends, laughing and clapping like everyone else, because even royalty loves free entertainment. Snow White secretly has a crush on Prince Florizel from a neighboring kingdom. She's been crushing on him for years, but is too shy to talk, which makes every modern dating app user nod in understanding. Her sidekick friends constantly push her to be brave and slide into his DM, acting like medieval sidekick with the persistence of telemarketers. But plot twist, Prince Florizel likes her too, but he's also too chicken to make a move, proving that even royalty struggles with sliding into DMs. But then we meet Snow White's evil stepmother, who's basically every toxic social media influencer rolled into one psychotic package. She hates Snow White because she's beautiful, loved by everyone, and always smiling, which is apparently more threatening than armed rebellion as far as she is concerned. And the queen couldn't stand it. She believed no one could be more beautiful than her, not even Snow White. To maintain her twisted sense of beauty, the queen relied on dark magic. She captured innocent women and used them as test subjects, mixing toxic potions, cursed mixtures, and unholy spells in the name of beauty experiments. Their skin burned, blistered, and rotted, but no one dared stop her. She was less of a queen and more of a mad scientist obsessed with eternal youth. She even had a magical mirror with a dirty demon flexing its smelly horns that constantly manipulated her, feeding her cock and bull lies, pushing her deeper into madness and justifying every nonsense act she committed. One day, the queen performs a ritual so intense she drains her own diabetic blood in hopes of becoming more powerful. Weakened, she sends her huntsman to fetch another girl for her next experiment. This time, one of Snow White's sidekick friends is the target, because apparently the queen's beauty makeup line requires a steady supply of test subjects. Meanwhile, Snow White's friends give her the final push to talk to Prince Florizel. On the way, she helps a little boy buy toys for his sick mother, and when she learns they can't afford treatment, she secretly gives them coins, proving she's got a heart bigger than her stepmother's ego. Prince Florizel watches this act of kindness from a distance and is probably thinking with a smirk, finally someone who tips well and has a good credit score. They finally talk, confessing feelings with all the awkwardness of teenagers at prom. Snow White admits she's cared for him for ages, and Florizel says he's felt the same, which is basically the medieval version of hang up first, no you hang up first. Later, the two of them sneak away to a quiet place. Snow White's father once took her. Somewhere, she could still feel her mother's presence, which is either touching or concerning depending on your stance on ghosts. But far from them, her friends are suddenly attacked by huntsmen because this kingdom has worst timing ever. One girl is captured and her chicken scream echoes through the woods like a medieval Amber Alert. Snow White and Florizel rush to help only to come face to face with Kaiser, the same sidekick huntsman who helped the witch years ago, proving that some people never learn to pick better employers. And then he speaks. He tells Snow White that the queen should have unalived her the same night she unalived her mother, basically delivering the world's most traumatic family history lesson. He takes the captured girl and orders other huntsmen to end Snow White and Florizel's subscription to life on the spot, because apparently he's got a very busy murder schedule to maintain. The fight breaks out. Snow White and Florizel barely escape the guards. In the chaos, Snow White flees into the dark forest with one of her friends until they are found by Gunnar, the loyal huntsman who once made a promise to protect her. He gives her an ancient dagger carved from dwarf bone that once belonged to her father, saying, "This will protect you," which is either sage wisdom or he's been watching too many fantasy movies. Meanwhile, Florizel escapes and rushes to the queen's castle asking for help, but the queen doesn't listen because she's got her own agenda that doesn't include helping her stepdaughter's boyfriend. Instead, she coldly orders Gunnar to bring Snow White back alive, because now she sees her as a threat to her power and throne, like every family dinner argument, but with actual murder involved. Snow White and her friend wander deeper into the dark forest, and suddenly, tree-like monsters emerge from the shadows, because apparently this forest has a more active nightlife than most cities. Before they can escape, one creature grabs Snow White's friend and devours her alive, which is definitely not the kind of friend group activity anyone signs up for. Terrified, Snow White freezes, but something strange happens as the monsters approach. Flexing their smelly horns, the monsters stop and back away, varnishing into the woods because they're afraid of her dagger. The weapon acts like monster repellent, proving that sometimes the best defense is carrying your dead grandfather's weaponry. Meanwhile, Prince Florizel rallies his people and enters the forest searching for Snow White, because love makes you do stupid things like venture into monster-infested woods. And if you've heard the old Snow White tale before, you already know this forest is no ordinary place. It's dangerous, dark, and alive. Back at the castle, the queen is performing gruesome rituals and orders Snow White's sidekick friend, now lifeless, to be cut into pieces for future experiments. Dark magic and witchcraft, treating corpses like ingredients in the world's most disturbing recipe book for whatever horror she has planned next. She turns to her enchanted mirror for guidance, and the mirror reminds her that she doesn't just envy Snow White, she hates her. Because apparently even magical objects are better at therapy than most people. The queen insists she can't unalive Snow White yet, not until she secures a second kingdom, because even evil stepmothers have strategic planning skills. To her, Snow White is meaningless, but the demon in the mirror still flexing its smelly horns reveals that Snow White carries something far greater, a pure soul, kind heart, and inner light, exactly what the queen desires, but can never have. Basically, Snow White has all the things that can't be bought on Amazon. If the queen wants beauty, strength, and control, she must take it all from Snow White. Her bloodline, her beauty, and her life, like the world's most twisted inheritance plan. Meanwhile, back in the forest, royal guards catch up to Snow White, knock her unconscious, and start dragging her back like she's a runaway teenager. But then 6 dwarves and a giant arrive, because apparently this forest has better neighborhood watch than most suburbs. The leader, wielding a hammer that's exactly as tall as she is, tells the guards that their queen holds no power there. And since the royal guards didn't risk their lives by entering an evil forest just to hear short people talking bullshit, they fight. With the plot armor and support of the guys that wrote this movie, these random dwarves takes down every guard except one who they leave alive to send a message. "Go back," they say. "Tell your queen. She rules nothing here." But we wonder how he would explain to the queen that her trained guards were schooled by short people. Unbelievable. The dwarves take Snow White to their hidden home deep in the forest, and when she wakes up, she's surrounded by strangers who are suspicious of her identity until they see her dagger. One dwarf recognizes it as belonging to the king, proving that sometimes family heirlooms are better than ID cards. A healer named Asta steps forward and reveals that she treated the queen the night Snow White was born. The queen didn't die from childbirth, she says. She died from a poisoned blade stabbed by a witch, finally clearing up the cause of death like a medieval autopsy report. We then learn that all the dwarves once lived in Snow White's kingdom, but everything changed when the evil queen rose to power. After the death of Snow White's mother, her father, the king, tried to protect the kingdom, but the witch promoted him to the afterlife too. After eliminating the king, she imprisoned, tortured, and murdered the dwarves because apparently she's into 6 feet guys, and short people are the cause every problem on Earth. By chance, she spared only a few survivors, who now live hidden in the forest like a support group for royal trauma. Each dwarf introduces themselves: Dozer, Arsta, Bo, Sunny, Grimwald, Tiny, and Pollen, because apparently dwarf names are either intimidating or sound like seasonal allergies. Snow White feels safe among them, but the evil queen receives a message from the surviving guard, and being disappointed that trained guards could loose to a few small people, she reacts by having the guard's hand chopped off, because she believes in responding to messages with extreme prejudice. She's also burning with jealousy over Gunnar's girlfriend and has all the girl's teeth ripped out before locking her away, proving that dental hygiene takes a dark turn under evil rule. Back at the cottage, Snow White bonds with everyone and helps clean the place, winning them over with her gentle nature and probably her royal quality housekeeping skills. But their peace is short-lived when strange noises echo through the forest, making everyone flee to hide, like they're playing the world's deadliest game of hide-and-seek. At the same time, Prince Florizel and his men arrive searching for Snow White, but instead discover the horrifying remains of her friend who was devoured by monsters, which is definitely not the kind of evidence you want to find during a rescue mission. Fear sets in as they worry Snow White met the same fate, because finding your girlfriend's friend as monster leftover meal is never a good sign. The child Snow White had once given toys to also returns wanting to help her, because apparently even kids in this kingdom have more courage than most adults. But before anyone can react, the tree monsters strike again, flexing their smelly horn and sparking a brutal battle that makes medieval warfare look like a pillow fight. Dozer and the remaining dwarfs arrive to help fight, proving that size doesn't matter when you're defending your found family. After the battle, Florizel reveals his mission to save Snow White, but the little boy suddenly goes missing, which is either concerning or he's just really good at hide and seek because they can't find him. Back at the castle, the queen gathers hair and belongings from Snow White's dead sidekick friend to cast a dark spell, creating a poisoned apple that will trap Snow White in eternal sleep. She's basically making the world's most dangerous fruit salad. And then comes the shocking twist. The queen reveals her true form as the same witch from the beginning, proving she's been catfishing an entire kingdom for years. She ventures into the forest in disguise and runs into the lost child, who unknowingly tells her where Snow White passed through. She sends him straight to meet Disney Jesus in order to erase the trail, because apparently leaving witnesses is amateur move in the evil business. Later, she arrives at the dwarf home where Snow White, unaware of her identity, tries to help her because kindness is apparently stronger than survival instincts. The witch uses this moment to manipulate her, offering the cursed apple in exchange for help. Snow White refuses, so the witch shoves the apple into her unbrushed mouth. Moments later, Snow White collapses, and as she falls into unconsciousness, she sees something horrifying in the basket beside her. The severed head of her dead friend, which is definitely not the kind of surprise you want in your final moments of consciousness. Anyways, the witch takes Snow White with her while back at the dwarf's cottage. Florizel and the others return to learn something dark about the queen. She had been poisoned with the same venom that now threatens Snow White. And the only antidote is a life for a life. Because apparently medieval medicine is just really expensive. The former queen, Snow White's mom, had made a sacrifice. She absorbed the poison into her own body so that Snow White could live. That's how Snow White was saved at birth. But just then, we see the evil queen end another one of Snow White's sidekick friends, draining her beauty and life force for herself. Obsessed with becoming Snow White, the queen even tries to wear her sandal, but when it doesn't fit, she cuts off her own toe in a move that makes Cinderella's stepsisters look reasonable. She's forgotten that true beauty needs a pure heart, and hers is blacker than her soul. The mirror tells her to delete Snow White while pressing down the shift key and eat her heart to gain true power, eternal youth, and unmatched beauty. Why not? Since apparently cannibalism is the ultimate beauty secret. The queen starts harvesting from dead girls like it's her backyard garden, taking teeth, nails, hair, and eyebrows to attach to herself. Totally disgusting. She draws diabetic blood from Snow White too, because she needs one final ingredient for her twisted transformation. Meanwhile, Dozer and his army storm the castle while royal guards try to stop them, leading to a brutal battle that breaches the castle walls. Tragically, Tiny the Giant falls in battle, proving that even giants aren't immortal in this nightmare kingdom. Everyone storms into the queen's chamber, where the evil witch declares no one can stop her now, raising her blade to strike Snow White. But one of the dwarves jumps in front, shielding her and dying to save her life with the exact same time and effort it would have taken to land a decent hit at the evil witch's heart. What a waste, because heroism comes without brains. Enraged, the queen casts a spell, making the dwarves powerless within the castle. But Florizel seizes the chance to grab Snow White like a heap of dirty laundry and escape into the forest. He takes her back to their sacred spot, and with a gentle kiss, gives her the antidote to the poison through a sacrifice that takes his own life, proving that true love's kiss has a really high mortality rate. But it works. Snow White opens her eyes alive, just as a huntsman appears, trying to send her back to Disney Jesus. But she quickly overpowers him and ends his subscription to life instead, spilling his diabetic blood all over her sexy body. Because apparently, near-death experiences are great for building combat skills. Snow White returns to the castle drenched in diabetic blood to confront the queen, telling her to stop the bloodshed and offering her heart if that's what she wants, like she's negotiating the world's most morbid peace treaty. Gunnar steps in, saying he'll take care of it, and shockingly stabs Snow White, presenting her heart to the queen, who devours it without hesitation. But here's the twist. That wasn't her heart. It was the poisoned apple disguised, proving that Gunnar's been playing 4D chess this whole time. Realizing she's been tricked, the furious queen loses control and brutally tears Gunnar apart like it's a Mortal Kombat fatality. Because being outsmarted by your own huntsman is the ultimate insult. As the witch prepares to cast a deadly spell on Snow White, Pollen the dwarf holds up the mirror in front of her, and the spell backfires like a magical boomerang. The other dwarves rush in, tie her down, and cut her cursed skin, stripping her of her powers like they're performing the world's most violent makeover. Snow White walks up to her and delivers the ultimate truth bomb, telling her that she's not good and that she the witch will never be a queen. And finally topping it up by reminding her that she is not beautiful because beauty comes from within, a line that ugly girls agree with. Even the magic mirror turns on the witch and mocks her, proving that when your own reflection roasts you, you've really hit rock bottom. Powerless and broken, the evil witch begins to fade away slowly and painfully, finally getting the beauty treatment she deserves. In the final scene, Snow White is crowned queen, and peace is restored to the kingdom. The dwarves and people live together in harmony and joy, like they're all in a medieval commune. She often visits Florizel's resting place to remember her true love, because apparently even happy endings come with a side of grief. And just like that, the story of Snow White comes to an end. Moral of the story? If your mirror talks back, it's not magic, it's madness. Get help quickly. And remember, true beauty comes from within, just like insanity, especially if you've been chatting with your mirror too long. I hope you enjoyed this recap. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. This is the Mad Recaps movie channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.